Hey guys, this is Jeremy with iKillOrchids, and I get a lot of questions from people how to know when to water their orchids, and usually they're talking about kind of grocery store orchids or Phalaenopsis. And so I am in the greenhouse today, and I thought I would just kind of shoot a quick video here. And this is one of my two kind of Phalaenopsis sections. You can see everybody is spiking, just about everybody is spiking and doing really well here. But the biggest question I get, I think a lot of you know or have experienced at some point in time that it is really, really easy to overwater orchids, and especially Phalaenopsis, which are what you usually get from a grocery store. So I wanted to give you some ideas on how to really be aware of what they need and when they need it as far as watering. So as you can see here, most of my phales are in bark, which is what they should be in. I've got a couple of them here that are in Spagna moss, which is not uncommon when you get them from the store. A lot of times they will come in Spagna. Sometimes, once in a while, they'll come in bark. The whole point with Phalaenopsis, though, is that they're actually epiphytic, which means that they like to have air to their roots. They're kind of sort of an air plant, if you will. So they really like to have air to their roots, and that's why you don't put them in dirt. So you give them an opportunity. This bark mixture allows for air to circulate down around the roots and for them to dry out in between waterings to get the air that they need. And then when you water them, they take up the nutrients and like to dry out again and get the air. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of technical details, but I want to make this really simple. So here is what you're looking at right here. This is a healthy root. It's got a bright green tip, which means that it's alive and growing. This one right here, this Phalaenopsis, is a little bit different. This root is not actively growing anymore, but it's not in bad shape. It's not dying. It's not anything like that. It's still very healthy. But this silvery white color that you're seeing, that means that this root in particular is dry, okay? So, and this one is silvery white with a little bit of green, but this is very normal. What we're looking for here is the silvery white. And like I can show you on this one, this is a different type of phale. He actually still has a really good new fresh root growing out here. It's got green on the very tip with this kind of purplish color, this bright silver. And then down here, see how it's a little bit different green right there? That little area on the root is actually wet. So you can see down here it's dry and right there it's wet. Do you see the difference in color? I will show you actually on this guy right here. He has not been repotted yet. So this is how he came from the grocery store. He's in Spagna moss. I'm going to try to do this one-handed here and get it to where you guys can see it. But down inside of there, I don't know if the light, that might be a little bit better. Down inside of there, he's in Spagna moss. And you can see that there are parts of his roots that are dark green, and then there's this stuff out on the edge that's white, okay, or silver. Now that dark green means that he's still wet. All of his roots are still wet. And the Spagna moss, you can tell by looking at it, this is a plastic type thing. I mean, it's just wet. You can see the moisture in there. You can see the roots down at the bottom. They're green and moist. This is an orchid that does not need to be watered, okay? So this is what you're looking for in an orchid that is wet and needs to dry out, all right? So it's all wet. The sphagnum is wet. So ideally, this guy needs to dry out until these roots down here start to turn the same silver color as this one out here. So just because you have one root outside of the pot that's dry does not mean that the rest of the plant needs to be watered. You need to look at the whole entire thing. And if for some reason it's in a pot that you can't see the roots down below, look closely at the top because you'll be able to see just like these guys are still wet. See this one up here on the tip, it's got the silver going on, but it's been out in the air, and then these guys are wet. So that's what you're looking for, wet roots versus dry roots. You do not want to water until the vast majority, if not all of the roots, are this color or like this, okay? So you want to make sure that they're good and dry. That's the important thing with Phalaenopsis orchids. If you do not do that, you will end up with root rot. you will end up with an orchid that loses all its leaves and dies. And here's something else for you. Some of my plants, they've got some water spots on them because I do have an opportunity since I'm in the greenhouse to water with a hose. But you can see that these leaves are nice and thick. The brand new leaves are very shiny and healthy. They've got a good texture to them, meaning they're not floppy and leathery. They're just nice and thick and firm, healthy leaves, okay? This is a good sign. If they don't look something very similar to this, if they're starting to yellow or if they look really wrinkled or just they're not similar to what you're seeing here, the plant is probably in distress. Now, you guys can always upload pictures or send me pictures. My email is info@iKillOrchids.com. Send me pictures if you've got questions, and I will do my best to tell you like what can help or what you may or may not need to do or where to go at least to find help. Because they're really not difficult to grow. But the biggest problem is the watering factor. And this one, you can see, this one's in a plastic pot, so you can see the roots. See, his roots down inside are also wet down inside of the bark, so he does not need to be watered. On the top, they're starting to dry, so really, like when I see something like this, probably 2 or 3 days, and he'll be ready for water. But right now, he is absolutely not ready for water. So these are things that you need to be aware of. And like I said, these orchids are some of the easiest to grow. Don't be afraid of them. Just be aware of what you're looking at. Do not repot them in dirt. They don't like dirt. They will die in dirt. They like to be in a bark mix like this. I actually have one. Let's see if I can reach it back here. This guy fell out of his pot, and because I was short on time, I literally just stuck him in this plastic pot, and he sits back here, but you can see he's growing new leaves. He's got new growth on his roots, and he's actually doing quite well. Now, the humidity in the greenhouse usually bottoms out at 65%, and we maintain an average usually of 75 to 85%. So I can get away with that a little bit more in here, but that's just to give you an idea, like it's not gonna die out of dirt. They're perfectly okay with that. And if you have a higher humidity area, you know, 50, 60, 70%, they will be fine actually out of a potting medium if you water them and fertilize them. So that's just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. I wanted to give you a rundown because like I said, I get a lot of questions like this from beginners and people starting out, they're just not sure what to do. Now, this isn't necessarily the rule of thumb for all orchids, but it does give you a good idea for many orchids, but especially Phalaenopsis, this is what you need to look for. This color all the way through from start to finish. This one, see his roots? They're all wet. This one sticking out is dry, but all of these down here, they're all wet. So do not water a wet orchid. Let it dry out. And that is for the Phalaenopsis grocery store style orchids that you see. But that's pretty much my synopsis. I hope that helps you guys. I hope that simplifies growing orchids for you. I hope you're all doing well. I would love to know how things are going, what questions you have. Send me your posts or your pictures, send me your videos, send me your questions. Let me know what you've got going on, and I will chat with you soon. Oh, also, give me the thumbs up. We like the thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll chat with you soon. Bye.